Welcome to the College of Education 10-Minute Research Break, a podcast devoted to highlighting research by Illinois State University's College of Education, faculty, staff, and students. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and take a break with us.
Hello, I'm Tricia Class. Today's guest is Betsy Lugg, professor in the Educational Administration and Foundations Department. She teaches classes in P12 and Higher Education, Law and Policy. She is editor of the Illinois State Education Law and Policy journals. 6 times a year, she publishes a summary of important legal cases and legislation. Welcome, Betsy.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, I see that you organize your issues around different legal areas. 3 areas that seem to appear in every single issue were related to students' rights, employer or teacher rights, and special education. First, why are these areas so active? And second, what typically are the issues involved in each of these 3 areas?
Students' rights, employer-teacher rights, and special education are so active because the categories are so broad. When you're talking about students' rights, for example, this encompasses everything from student misbehavior to their constitutional rights to potential criminal activity. With employers and teachers, you have a great deal of policy that you are dealing with, as far as hiring, firing, promotion, evaluation, behavior towards students, collective bargaining, and even basic constitutional rights. Special education is always a hot topic because of all the federal legislation. The IDEA and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, which are involved with special education. It is a very costly area for school districts, so the need to provide a free and appropriate public education as required by the IDEA often causes disagreements between the parents and the schools as to what is appropriate. Right now, the hot topics in these areas are bullying, freedom of religious expression, sexual harassment and misconduct by both teachers and students, and placement and discipline of special education students. With the proliferation of the use of social networks, cyberbullying has become a major issue. States are passing legislation requiring school districts to enact policies to protect from bullying, but it is difficult with cyberbullying, where the action actually takes place away from the school. Freedom of religious expression has been primarily centering around 2 issues. Elementary school students handing out treats at birthdays or school parties with a religious message included, and the other is using freedom of religious expression to express anti-gay viewpoints, and thereby violating the district's tolerance or hate speech policies. With sexual harassment, the trend has been moving away from student-on-student sexual harassment and has moved toward inappropriate conduct between teachers and students, and especially between female teachers, which is new for the courts. Finally, special education is a constant struggle to do what is best for the children with ever-decreasing resources. No Child Left Behind has added to this issue for districts who are meeting AYP with every demographic but special education students. So they now are facing a double-edged sword of wanting to make sure that they're in compliance with the IDEA, doing what's educationally best for the students, but then getting disciplined by the NCLB legislation because of the methods used to try to assess those special ed populations. That's what's going on right now with those 3 areas.
Okay, yeah, because they were in every single issue.
Yes.
And I imagine they always been in every single issue too?
Yes, and they will always be in every single issue.
Okay. Now, the journal reports regularly on upcoming or recently passed legislation that affects Illinois education. What topics do you see coming up that will have a major impact on Illinois education?
Since the passage of Senate Bill 7, teacher evaluations, tenure, the role of seniority, and rules for collective bargaining are and will continue to be the most important policy topics in Illinois education. I think we just saw the tip of the iceberg with the strike up in Chicago. With the Common Core and RTI, among other reforms, teachers are being asked to do more, and yet are not being offered any additional compensation for it. Partly it's because of philosophical differences, and partly it's because the districts simply don't have the money to give the additional compensation. And yet the state laws and policies that are being passed mandate that the teachers do these. This is obviously going to cause friction. The other area in which we're going to see the most movement, both from the General Assembly, but definitely within school districts, is if the General Assembly decides to throw the cost of pensions on the local school district or amend benefits of individuals currently in the system. I see a flurry of school finance and contract litigation occurring in those areas. I also see that coming as a major topic for collective bargaining because all you have to do is read the popular press to see that there's a difference of opinion between those teachers, professors, and other state employees that have paid in under the agreement that they will get a certain benefit at the end, and the other side that feels that teachers, etc., are getting paid too much and they should shoulder some of it. So what if the benefits are cut somewhat? That's going to just be ripe for litigation. Depending on what is done, could also see a run towards retirement, leaving shortages in the ranks, especially in the area of building level administrators, science and math teachers, and special education teachers. Then, to put another layer on that, you have the General Assembly making major changes in the way that those individuals are prepared at colleges and universities, which may exacerbate the shortage that could be caused by mass retirement trying to avoid pension. It's all one big circular problem. One thing leads to another.
And then also on the national front, are there any milestone cases or trends that you see that have an impact on us?
Right now, there's a case in front of the Supreme Court of the United States regarding affirmative action. In this case, the court will once again look at the constitutionality of using race as a variable in admission for higher education or building assignment in P12. Even though it's a higher education case, it still would have impact on P12. In oral arguments this past month, the justices seemed highly critical at using such a variable, saying that more neutral, non-race-based policies have actually done a better job in increasing diverse student bodies. Another case in higher education, and the Illinois Law and Policy Journal covers both P12 and higher education law, is a case from the University of Iowa where the law school there is being sued by an individual who claims that she was not hired because of her political beliefs. And though political beliefs in and of themselves are not a constitutionally protected action, it is essentially by doing that chilling her constitutional right to freedom of speech. The Federal District Court for the Southern District of Iowa had dismissed the suit. On appeal to the Eighth Circuit, however, the court reversed that dismissal and stated that there were questions of material fact to be decided by the court, so basically breathed life into that controversy. So again, it's another case looking at diversity and expectations of diversity, but on the employment side, the teacher side, employee side, as opposed to the student. Recently in the P12 range was the decision of the Supreme Court that strip searches are not per se an unconstitutional violation of the Fourth Amendment if the state can show a compelling state interest. In this case, the district was looking for some over-the-counter painkillers, basically ibuprofen that they thought that she had. She was an 8th grader. In that case, the court said that the strip search was not appropriate. Because of what they were looking for, the age of the student, in a balancing test, the state did not have sufficient reason to subject her to a strip search for that. However, they left the door open that said that there could possibly be situations in which the danger posed by what they were looking for, and given the age of the student, that it would be in a balancing test on the side of the school district to allow them to do such a strip search. The reason that they left it open was because of the special relationship that teachers have with students. This is also the case, and I've even spoken with the State Teachers Association about the case allowing suspicionless drug testing. There they allowed that for kids and extracurricular activities because schools need to be the safe haven. My question is, would it not then also be okay to test teachers because they need to be part of that safe haven?
So we should see those in the coming year.
Yes.
So I guess we know what some future issues might be addressed. Okay.
And it's employees and students once again.
Yeah. And then I see that several issues have articles written by guest authors. So I was wondering for our readers, how do you either solicit or select outside authors to be published in this journal?
Well, we receive outside pieces in 2 ways. Some are unsolicited, and on our website, we provide authors with the procedure if they wish to submit a manuscript to us for consideration. Most of the time, I'm the only one who reviews those manuscripts, but if it's in an area where I know a colleague who does a lot of work in that area, I will also send it out to them to get sort of a second opinion that it's something that we want to publish. The second way that we receive pieces, articles to publish, is I belong to the Education Law Association, which is the premier international education law group. And very often after I've gone to a conference, someone has presented, and I ask if they would write a piece, or I read it in another journal, and I ask that journal and or author, would they mind if I reproduce it, giving them credit as to where it was first produced. My goal is to make sure that administrators and attorneys and researchers here in Illinois have a quick and easy way that is constantly updated to get information on school law.
Well, thank you. I'm sure today's conversation will encourage others to read the journal and submit some articles. Well, thank you, Betsy.
Thank you very much.
The full citation is http://educationlawjournal.illinoisstate.edu. The citation can also be found at the website coe.ilstu.edu/research/podcasts.
This podcast is sponsored by Illinois State University's College of Education, where we strive to assure that all students realize the democratic ideal through our teaching, research, and service to the field of education.